Hi everyone, I am glad and excited that you made it far to episode 8. In this episode, we sit down with 4 current Nigerian international students who are calling Edmonton home and will be sharing their experience, their journey, and how they've been able to survive the winter, the lonely days, depression, COVID, online schooling, everything all at once. So the reason why I had to insert this particular episode is because I didn't just want you to hear from previous or past international students. I wanted you to listen to current international students who will share with you a first-hand experience of what it felt for them to go through the entire journey of life in Edmonton. I hope you enjoy this episode just like how you've enjoyed episodes 1 to 7.
Hi, my name is Bena. My friends call me Bena. I am in my 3rd year, specializing in biochemistry in the University of Alberta. And my international student journey, though it's still continuing, has actually been an emotional roller coaster. And it all started in 2021. So I didn't come to university straight out of high school. I went to a 6th form college. I think that's what it's called, or a pre-degree college in Bridge House, because I graduated high school at the age of 15. So it was kind of too young to be going into university. So my parents just thought, oh, just go to a college. Then after that college, I did apply to multiple schools in Canada. Canada was always the option from when I was very little. My parents would be like, oh, you're going to Canada, you're not going anywhere else, you're not going to stay in Nigeria. So that's what I always thought. So I applied to different schools for nursing because that's what my parents wanted me to study. But I always wanted to study biochemistry. I don't know if it was because I knew what I wanted to do unconsciously, because I knew nothing about biochemistry, but I turned my parents' hand and they applied for both nursing and biochemistry in different schools. So University of New Brunswick, University of Ottawa, and University of Alberta. They also applied to another school, but I don't remember. So it was shocking that all the schools I applied for did not give me admission in nursing, but all of them gave me admission in biochemistry. So that's how I just knew that biochemistry was it for me. I just picked the University of Alberta because I was like, why not? It is top 5 in the country, so I guess I'm going to go to this school. So I applied for my visa in March, and it took till October for me to actually get the study permits, because I would tell my dad, oh, daddy, have you checked about the visa? I was disturbing him about it because I was feeling sad that all my friends were leaving, they were traveling, and I was just the one just staying there. And I did start university because U of A starts September. So I did start university while I was still in Nigeria. So coping with the time difference between Canada and Nigeria, it's about a 6-7 hour difference. So it just messed up my sleep schedule, messed up the way I functioned during the day. I was a night owl. My sister and I, we barely saw each other because when I was sleeping, she was awake. When I was awake, she was when she was awake, I was sleeping. So it was just a lot. And coping with school and everything from an online setting was still a lot. I was basically thrown into the Canadian system of education because I started learning stuff that I did not know the slightest things about. High school did not prepare me for any of it, and this was while I was still waiting for my visa. So I got my visa in October, and I planned to move to Canada in December 2021. That's when I planned to move. But I don't know if it was a rumor, but I know I heard something about international students were not allowed to come into Edmonton or into Canada unvaccinated from December 1st. So this was also during just after COVID time, around that time. So they were requiring everyone to get vaccinated, and I was still under 18. I think I was 16 years old at that time, so I couldn't get vaccinated. Like, I don't know how the process was. I just know it was hard for me to get vaccinated, but my dad did pull some strings and I did end up getting vaccinated. But my plan to move in December was basically crashed, so I had to move earlier. I got my visa in October. November 21st was the day I came to Canada, and everything was rushed. Like, buying stuff for me to go, buying boxes, getting my mind prepared to Canada, none of it was there. I was basically thrown into Canada at 16, and I had to fly on my own because yes, I did have a brother in Canada already, but he wasn't in Alberta. He was in Ontario, so it's a whole different province. So he couldn't help me even if he wanted to. So I had to fly from Nigeria to Canada on my own, and it was a lot. So coming to Canada, the thing that just struck me was the snow. I've seen snow in films, like people be making snow angels, like snowmen and everything. And the second I got outside, I was just regretting my decision of coming to Canada because I got frostbites, which is very painful. It's not as nice as it sounds. I was crying because my the Uber that was meant to take me from the airport to my hotel where I was meant to do quarantine, I'm getting to that. That was another thing. But the Uber didn't arrive. So we basically paid $50 and there was a no-show. So, and I came from Nigeria and I've never used an Uber before. I've never used all these car services, taxis. My parents drive me wherever I need to go, right? So it was very, very sad, especially like I didn't have anybody to share it with. So I just talked to the front desk and they helped me with the Uber and everything. Then I got to my hotel room for quarantine for 14 days. So the hotel room was actually very nice, but what just made that experience bad was, one, I was having exams, my first finals in university. I was having it in quarantine online, and my birthday was around that time too, so I did spend my birthday in quarantine alone with none of my parents, none of my family or anything. So writing my exams was just a lot. That was one factor. Then two was the food. So coming from my house, my mom always made like peppery food and all that. So that is what I was used to eating. But the food that they gave me like in the hotel made me throw up multiple times. Like, me and the bathroom, we became very good friends because I was always throwing up, and I couldn't order food because I also didn't have money. I didn't have an account. So it was my brother that would all the way from Ontario, he would order the food for me, and that's why I would get it outside from the door. But apart from that, I wasn't eating, and it made me feel bad because my dad did pay for the food, but there's nothing I could do. And they gave me 14 bottles of water. And for anyone that knows me, I drink a lot of water. So 14 small bottles of water wasn't really cutting it for me. So I was kind of dehydrated. And all of that was happening while I was studying for exams. So I did pass my exams. I wouldn't call it passing, but I scaled through, and I stayed in the dorm for this is fall semester. All this happened in just fall semester. Then I stayed in the dorm for winter semester in one of the U of A residences. And that's where I actually got to meet very good people. Like, the friends I still have to this day are the friends that I met then, and also some friends from high school. But yeah, that whole experience it was very dawning on me that Canada, the abroad is not what we see on films. It's not the roses and rainbows. It is greener pastures because it opens more opportunities. But at the same time, there's just a level of maturity, just a level of understanding that you need to have before you come to this place. Because I was on scholarship when I started, but because I didn't understand the curriculum of this place, the way they set their questions, and again, I was in online, I wasn't really learning anything. Then in winter semester, they started doing some in-person classes. Then the next week is going to be online. So it just messed me up, and I lost that scholarship because of that. Like, to me, I used to tell myself that, oh, maybe I wasn't studying hard enough, but I realized that I wasn't mature enough to understand like the way this country works. I did not understand that. And that was a harsh truth. I still haven't gotten a scholarship till today, but we thank God for everything. So basic like major things that I realized that like I just had to come to realize was, okay, the school fees is outstanding. I think I don't know what the price is for the U of A, but I know it's a factor in the school fees is a lot. So just knowing, like, as a Nigerian, just thinking the amount of money that your parents are paying for that school fees just makes you kind of mature a bit faster and say, okay, I need to take some decisions into my own hands. I need to start like I need to start seeing how I could make money. Like, it was just a lot, because my dad, yes, he would send the money, but me asking him to send money whenever I needed it, it made me feel like, and I have four other siblings, so, and all of them are still going to school. All of us are in university right now, but then the two were in high school, two were in university, including me. So we're five children. So I had to put some matters into my own hands. I applied for jobs, and this wasn't during school. This was during summer, because my dad said for my first year I shouldn't work. That's what my parents agreed on. So for summer, I was looking for jobs, looking. I was applying to different places, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, different restaurants, you name it. I was just applying to plenty places. Then I finally got a job at a restaurant, which I quit because I was getting stressed. So I just had to quit it. But I did manage to earn some amounts of money. So, and I did get another job. That's the job I'm working in now. And balancing that with school, sure, it has been a lot. Like, if I tell you that I haven't cried sometimes because I just feel like this kind of stress is not for me. I'm too young for this. But yeah, it's just been a lot. I have cried about these certain things. But what really helped me was having friends, making connections that's like rooted connections that really helped me, and my church really helped with that, because I'm an introverted person. So just basically reaching out to people is kind of hard for me, because I also feel like, oh, I should learn how to do it myself. I must learn how to do it myself. So it was very, very hard for me. At the period in which I lost my last job and got this new one, I wasn't getting any money, and I kind of realized that like the stipend I got from my dad started reducing a bit, and I did understand that. So I was like, okay, Bena, what's next? So I opened YouTube and I learned how to make hair. Like, every time I tell my mom to this day that I can make hair, I don't think she believes me until she sees it physically, because she knew the person I was before. But just being in this kind of environment where you cannot just be sitting down as an international student, you cannot just be sitting down and waiting for the money to fall from wherever it's going to fall from. You have to make a way for yourself. Yes, Canada gives you the opportunity to make a way for yourself, but you have to start it. So learning how to make hair really helped me with that. And I also got a mentor, and she helped me like with a lot when I was learning like the hair making process. So now I can do braids. I don't do braids anymore, but if there ever comes a time where I do need to do it, I can. So back to what I was saying about the community, it really did help, because I found friends that I could talk to, people that I could not lay my burdens with, but share my burdens with, because they kind of understood where I was coming from. They understood what I was going through. And that's just the best thing ever. Like the feeling of that warmth from people that are not even related to you, like people that are willing to call you up to check on you to see how you're doing. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Christian Ezenwa, and I just completed my first year of business at the University of Concordia in Edmonton. And my journey to becoming an international student has been a long but a very interesting journey. And it started actually from Ukraine. I used to be a medical student in Ukraine, and I studied there up until the beginning of the war, which is when I had to leave the country, and I moved back to Nigeria just to try to figure out what I was going to do next. At that point, I knew that I wasn't going to continue medicine, but I needed to do something else. So I decided to pick up to fully pursue what I wanted to do, which is to become an entrepreneur and have a business of my own. So, and that was why I decided to study business in Canada. But why did I choose Canada? I chose Canada because, well, mainly because of the stories of the opportunities that we've been, as Nigerians, we've been told about that you can get from studying abroad or being abroad. And my process started with obviously trying to apply for admission at the University of Concordia, and thankfully I did get the admission, and I applied for a visa at around August, but it was a very, very long and emotionally exhausting journey just because of how long the process took. I didn't get any replies from the embassy up until December when they asked for a newer passport, which I did submit, and I didn't get any response after that up until January about 26th or 25th. That's when I got my passport like in my hand. During the process of waiting for the visa and actually getting my passport, I had my admission rescinded 3 times by the university because they needed me to submit the visa documents, which included the study permit, and obviously I did not have that at that point, so I could not provide it, and I had the admission rescinded 3 times, but it was offered back after I had appealed and explained the reasons behind that. Thankfully, I got my visa and I left Nigeria the next day just so I could meet the deadline, and I did, thankfully. I got to the airport and it was a very nice experience just finally being in Canada, because it's something I've always wanted for a long time. And I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't exactly what I saw. I still don't know what I wanted to see, but it was great, really. And just leaving the airport, I remember trying to find my friend and just asking myself, like, I'm here now, so what's next? And I'm still trying to answer that question, to be honest. But my friend picked me from the airport and took me to the university, where I was met by the community leader, I believe, of the dormitories at that point. And he showed me to my room because I was staying at the dorms. Showed me to my room, helped me settle in, and the next day I made sure I submitted the documents the school needed.
Hi, my name is Ivari and this is my journey as an international student in Canada. So the journey started um, in January, February last year, and to be honest, I wrote JAM, I wrote WAEC. These are like Nigerian exams. So I thought I was gonna go to Nigerian university, probably like a private university, and unlike most people, my parents picked my school for me, and I am actually glad they did because I may not have picked the best school for me. So I went for my medicals, and yeah, I think 4 months, about that kind of time, my visa was ready, and I traveled in December pretty much. And I'm a triplet, so I traveled with my siblings, and it was going to be the first time away from everybody together. I mean, I have one sibling here and another in another province. Well, it was just because we've gone to the same school our whole lives. So it took some adjusting to get used to it. And Arriving at the airport, I had a family friend that was waiting for me with her dad to come pick me up. So yeah, they were very friendly, like had meals prepped and packed away for us, which I'm so thankful for. And yeah, so I pretty much came in like very close to the beginning of the semester, so I had little time to get used to the weather, find my way around, and
Hi, my name is Subomi Badger. I'm a fourth year computer science student here at MacEwan University. And I got to Edmonton in 2019, and I've been studying at the University of MacEwan, trying to finish my computer science degree. So I started my studies at the beginning of COVID, so in the beginning of the pandemic, and everything was shut down, everything was online. My whole schooling was started online, so very minimal interactions or no interactions at all with fellow classmates or instructors, so which meant less access to help and resources. So trying to find those resources that would help me to continue and be the best in my studies was tough. And also interactions, because I was a new immigrant, and the troubles new immigrants face in Canada, those were similar things I went through. So I felt like I didn't fit in because I didn't know anyone besides my family that I was staying with. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't have that community outside your family, that warmth of, oh, I have somewhere else to go, or there are other people out there that I can go and talk to. So I felt lost quite a lot of times. Um, so yeah, I struggled with that initially, and I also tried to maintain good grades because when I got my admission, MacEwan gave me an entrance scholarship, and that was really helpful because I was schooling here with my sister in MacEwan at the time, and the international tuition is a lot, and I tried my best to get good grades and have managed to remain on the dean's list the whole time to get extra scholarships because it's a continuous scholarship if you remain on the dean's list. So I've tried my best to maintain good grades even while I've been working the whole time. So working and schooling is very stressful, and sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things to maintain good grades. And thankfully, I've been able to maintain these grades and continue getting the scholarship, and it has been really helpful. So I've also had the support of my family here, knowing that I can come back home and see my grandma and see my cousins, and knowing that, oh, people are checking in on me, people care when I get back. I appreciate how helpful that can be to studying in an unknown place, because I came here as a young man trying to find my place in this world. So I appreciate that. That has been really helpful. And it wasn't until about last year or 2 years ago when the pandemic started dying down and people started coming out and we had more physical interactions, that's when I could make friends, and I've started finding things I actually enjoy doing besides school. So like the arts exhibitions that I have started organizing in Edmonton to just sort of foster community between people. That has been really helpful, and that's things that I've learned that I'm passionate about now. And the community is basically just the community that we've been able to build here in Edmonton that I'm really thankful for.
Okay, so some culture shocks that I did realize when I came here. First, I did talk about the snow. I hate the snow. I can't lie. I really do not like it. Because my fingers get cold easily, so it just makes me so stagnant. And I mentioned the thing about frostbite earlier when I first moved to Canada. So just feeling the cold on my fingers it just brings back those memories. But it makes me feel sad, but at the same time, it just makes me like think how far I have actually been since I got here first. Another culture shock was being in class and like just like the period of the class would run through. Like let's say you have a 1 hour lecture or a 15-minute lecture, it would run through, and 10 minutes before the class ends, people are packing up their bags. They're getting up to leave. And I'm like, we have to wait for the professor. Don't we have to wait for the professor to leave the class? Because in Nigeria, that's how it is. Like, you cannot get up unless the teacher says class is over, and he carries his laptops and leaves the class. Like, we cannot do that. And addressing professors by their normal names. Well, the professors I have, they have doctorate degrees, so we put like doctor in front of their name. But other professors that only have like a PhD or something, there's no title for that. So we just call them by their first name, and it is actually very weird, and it kind of made it hard for me to click with my professors, because I don't know, I just couldn't see myself calling them by their normal name and just having a normal conversation with them. Obviously, I've learned to do that now. I am kind of comfortable with it. Of course, if I go back to Nigeria, I have to address people as sir and ma. But here, like that connection with my professors, I just did not have it. And I think it was because of like the addressing them, because I just couldn't bring myself to just say their name, then ask them, oh, could you explain what you said in this slide? It was just very, very, very weird to me. Another culture shock, the food in this place. So the food here is actually not bad. It can actually be very nice. But I got sick a lot. I would get sick once every single month. It stopped now, but for the past year or so, like when I first got to Canada, I would get very sick every single month because of the food. Like I would just wake up one random day throwing up, and at some point I kind of knew, okay, it's because of the food I've been eating. So that sickness also did affect my grades a bit, because you can't concentrate on studying if you're sick. So yeah, that actually messed me up a lot. But I found good African stores that do sell some spicy food, and yeah, I just learned some recipes and I made them. So yeah.
So, moving to Canada, I'd say a couple of the things that shocked me being here as someone who came from outside the country was, first of all, I did not know it took so long for a red light to turn green. I stood waiting at that light post for a while in that cold. But yeah, that was one of it. And secondly, here people address lecturers, or just generally like older people, by their first names. And it's not a regular thing in Nigeria. We're used to calling them by maybe ma or sir, or just adding some sort of title before their name. So I'd say those were two of the most shocking things that I experienced being an international student.
So yeah, the first cultural shock was the weather. The second thing was, I was so surprised at how friendly people are, because there's so many times that you find people that you're in an environment where you don't know anybody and nobody's willing to help. Or I can't count how many times I got lost, and how many times someone was like, oh, this is where you're looking for, or you just have to like make a right the next place. And I can't tell how grateful I am for those people, because I mean, walking in the streets in the cold, that was not like a very beautiful experience. And what else? I didn't have so much of a shock when it came to food, because I wasn't really a picky eater. So I just had like the difficulty of finding where I can like get things to make my own homemade food. But apart from that, yeah, those are like the few things I experienced that were like shocking to me. And one thing I'm very grateful for is having a stable community. And I say stable community because you can have so many people around you that you may call friends, and they may not be there in the long run, or especially when you need them. So for me, one thing that helped me like get settled, especially in Edmonton, was having a stable community in school, in church, especially because I had leaders that like were you could call them at any time and they would be willing to talk to you, they'll be willing to listen, that kind of.
Okay, so I'm in my third year now, and I've learned a lot, especially in the academic sense. Um, Nigerian schools are not the same as Canadian schools. That's just the point blank, like just straight up. It is not the same. The Nigerian curriculum is so different. Back in Nigeria, I would study for less hours and I would be getting A's compared to here, where I had to put in effort, sleepless nights, just going for office hours, messaging profs, emailing my professors. It was just a lot. But um when I realized that it was different, at the point where I realized that okay, it's not looking like it's the same thing, that's when I sat down, I did my research, looked for different study methods, looked on like how I could improve myself, like in my academic sense, make myself better, the skills that I could learn, like how I learned how to make hair, to just make me more valuable, to add more worth to like what I can bring, right? And especially after losing my scholarship, was kind of an eye opener to me. I say kind of because I still didn't learn my lesson after that, sadly, but I have now. Better late than never.
Settling into Canada was not easy just because I had to do everything on my own. But over time, I started to get a hang of it. It was not my first time being abroad because I had been in Ukraine before, but it was completely different because the cultures, the life, and everything was totally different. University here, I really like it. It's the classes in my university are not as big or not as small that you feel like you're being picked on. The class is just, the right amount of size, and it's full of people from different places, from all over the world. So you don't really feel international. You don't really feel like a secluded group, you see the minorities and you see everyone else, and it makes you feel inclusive in this multicultural community. And I would say that is something that I really, really loved, just because, when I was in Ukraine, it was very easy for me to feel alone, or it was very easy for me to miss home, just because I was easily reminded that, this was not home. But being in Canada and seeing people who looks like me, and in my class as my lecturers, as friends, it was a very liberating feeling too, and it made me feel less alone for sure.
School life, it was pretty tasking at the beginning. It still is tasking. School is generally tasking, and it was a big transition for me from having to write, for example, 250 word essays to having 4-paged research papers with works cited. I'm like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to. But one thing that helped me as as a student in general was making use of the resources I had, library resources. Being a Black student, there's a Black Student Association in my school. There is the Black Student Association in my school. So it's a safe space for African students, pretty much. We have a study space, we have hangout events. Most times, people they're like people that can help me out with questions I had. I remember one time I had this really tasking statistics assignment, and I just walked into the room and I was like, oh, is anybody taking stats here who can help me out? And within minutes, like, I had a few friends come over, and then I was pretty much done with the assignment by the time they were done. So making use of the resources available to you, pretty much. But one thing is, highs and lows. In as much as you have so many people around you, there's still the tendency to feel lonely. I mean, my parents are thousands of miles away. It's like 7-hour, 8-hour difference sometimes, and you just want to see people. Coming from a family where the nuclear family and extended family is so tight, you don't know who is who coming from the outside. It took a lot of adjusting to. One thing for sure is you would lose friendships, especially you would, and a lot try to try to maintain the ones you can. What if you're going to get burnt out if you're trying to maintain every single friendship or relationship you had from Nigeria and coming here, because a lot of people are not going to understand. You hear things like, sometimes people say things like, oh, you're outside of Canada, you're outside of Nigeria rather, that means everything is going smoothly for you. And that necessarily might not be the case, because just because I changed my environment doesn't mean I don't have struggles of my own. So don't get burnt out trying to maintain a lot of things that you can't control. Like, try the most you can. Don't be a bad friend yourself, but try the most you can to maintain relationships with people. Set boundaries, because if you don't have them, I mean, yeah. Another thing I was gonna say is, there's this quote, I can't remember where I saw it, but is, man, know thyself, know your strengths. I'm loving psychology now, and I'm just beginning my second year. I'm not sure what I would have said if I was in the nursing program. Now, a lot of people thrive in the nursing program. I just feel like, personally, I thrive in like my own space. I love why I'm studying and everything. So know yourself. One thing I'm grateful for is the fact that being here enabled me to make certain decisions about my career that I might not have made if I was like still under the shadow of so many people. So know yourself. No, okay, I can't attend this, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, know yourself. That's pretty much what I can say. For the lows, failure is inevitable. And when I mean failure, I don't mean like getting Fs or anything, or like getting your not desired results. It happens. And one thing I tell myself is I don't try to beat myself up over it. I try to pick up the pieces and move on. I try to not just stay at the spot, because what's staying at the spot going to do for me? I had to pick up, move on, find ways. If I need help, try to ask questions ask questions where necessary, when you need help or when you're in doubt, because if you don't ask questions, you're pretty much going to be in confusion. That's the word that comes to me.
Yeah, I've been able to maintain my position on the dean's list my whole degree because I've managed to learn time management skills. So also being able to sacrifice certain things. So when I have an opportunity to go have fun, sometimes I decide to go study, and I decide to. It's just a conscious effort to balance everything. It's been a hard skill to learn, but it is doable. And also trying not to burn out in the process, because that is something I also realized, that once I get burnt out, there's really nothing much I can do anymore. So learning those skills to balance everything and also find your interest. So I started digitally painting last year, and I realized that gave me passion to do other things. So sometimes when I'm getting very fed up with work and school, I look to these interests, I look to these other things that keep me excited, because otherwise you burn out and there's nothing more you can do. So these skills and these interests like painting or drawing or music, these are just other things that push me and give me enough motivation to actually go through with my studies. And there are also a lot of scholarships out there. There's scholarships from school, and there are also scholarships from other organizations. So looking for these scholarships and also trying to get my grades well have been really helpful to paying my tuition as an international student here in MacEwan.
Just those reading habits, the study habits, it just really helped me to motivate myself and also to avoid burnout. I just started to do things that the things that are me, things that make me happy. Like how people will tell you, oh, I read for 16 hours straight, I read for 10 hours straight. Sure, it would work for them, but you also have to find what works for you. And this is going to like future international students. Before you get here, actually do like research on what you want to study. Understand what that course is going to entail, how much work you have to put. I'm not saying one course is easier than the other, but you know your capacity, you know what you can handle. So just try and understand, like what it would take for you to move on, because university can be mentally draining. University can actually be mentally draining. Sometimes you would sit down in your room and you'd be asking yourself why you're here, but you are here for a reason. You are here for a reason. You got accepted for a reason. So understanding that just made me move a long way, and with friends and everything, like talking to people in my degree, make friends. You can say, oh, I'm introverted, I don't really talk to people. Make friends. Even if they're not going to be your close friends, peer buddies, they are going to help you. You might seem like, they might not really understand because they're not from the same country. If they're not from the same country, find somebody in the same country as you in your degree. If you cannot find somebody, you can find an alumni or something. The person doesn't have to be in your year. If you cannot find anybody that comes from the same country as you, you're going to have to make friends or like form peer groups with people that are not the same ethnicity as you. And you will see in the long run, you would actually like gain something. And also for the parents, I would say just be patient with your kids, because another thing that really helped me through, and I bless God for my parents. They were so patient with me. Like sometimes I would just call them, like I would call them crying and be like, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I don't want to do this. But they were always with me. Like they would always tell me, just keep moving. And that kind of patience actually helped me through a lot. Them understanding, because I always had this persona about my parents that they want excellence. They want A's, they want A pluses, and I know they do, but they also understand when that is not what I have to give them. So I would tell parents, just be understanding of who your child is and understand their capacity to speak to them, check up on them on intervals. I'm not saying call your child every single day, but just try and ask them like how school is going, like how is their mental health, because that is a very real thing. Mental health is a real thing. Just ask them how they're coping with how they're seeing their classes and everything. Just that is my advice.
For anyone who's trying to move here or become an international student, I would say one word of advice I would give, just off of my own experience, is try to find a community, try to find some friends, try to find a family away from family, because I feel like as individuals, well, as a person, for me, that's a very huge factor, and that's a very huge part of who I am and of just part of my life. I noticed that talking to friends and talking to other international students, one of the main things that people struggled with was, loneliness and just being on their own. So I would say that has been the major part of helping me integrate myself into the community better. And for parents who are sending their kids abroad, I would also like to say that first of all, thank you, because it's not easy to do. It's very tasking emotionally, financially, in every way possible. But also, secondly, understand that that kid that you're sending abroad is literally having to, the second that they land here, they're gonna stop being a kid and they're gonna have to grow up by force, because they're thrown into life on their own. So I'll say that for parents, understand that it's a journey and it's not easy. It's not an easy task. So please be lenient with your kids when they're abroad.
To any international student listening or watching, one thing I can tell you is value people, value friendships, because the bonds you form now, the relationships you form now, the communities you form now, in the long run, they're going to help you. And another thing I would say is give yourself grace, because while okay, as an international student, my parents are paying international tuition, it is really expensive. Give yourself grace, because sometimes you might fall short of what you expected for yourself. while I won't say, oh, you should just slack and stay, I could also say, give yourself grace. Like, okay, this I did better in this area. Okay, now I need to work on this area, and just follow along. Find somebody, like at least one person you are comfortable talking to, you can share, because a lot of people, a lot of friends that I had have went through like seasonal depression, and it was tough because they didn't really have people to talk to. Like, a lot of people struggle and you don't have anybody to talk to. So if you don't have anybody to talk to, I feel like that's one thing that is very important, as especially as an international student far away from home. That's like one thing. And just seeking help. Like, just okay, for example, let's say I didn't get a particular grade I needed in a course, right? And I was, because back home I wasn't so used to talking to the professor or anybody. So typical me, a day in the life would be, oh, I get to class, I go to the back of the class, because I don't really talk to the professor. Like, I wasn't really talking to the professors then. But then one thing I learned was hiding things that I'm struggling with wasn't going to help me. So if it was academically, if it was mentally, anything, like staying in my own bubble wasn't going to help me. So seeking help, whether academically, finding out information, being away from home helps you mature in a way that you don't even think that you could. Because especially like I went to a private school in Nigeria, so private university, high school, I mean, in Nigeria. So I pretty much had instructors say, oh, it's time for the SATs, you have to prepare for that. It's time for IELTS training, you have to prepare for that. Oh, there's this scholarship opportunity. Oh, there's this essay competition. Here, you pretty much have to find it out for yourself. If you're looking for internships, you're looking for jobs. Most times, nobody's gonna like come to you and like, oh, have you prepared your resume? Oh, have you prepared your cover letter? No, you have to like grow up for yourself and just do the things you need to do. Find out information for yourself. You have access to a lot of resources, so most time it's very, very helpful to use them. So yeah, that would be my advice to international students that are listening and watching. And to parents, I'm very thankful for my parents, like super thankful to God that I have them. And I'll just say, be patient. Please listen, because I could call my mom and rant for so long on how I feel. Like, not necessarily, not just your child might be going through something, and they feel, oh, mommy's going to label it anxiety and depression. And being a Nigerian and African, like, we tend to associate it to spiritual things. But while you cannot ignore that, there are also times like, all I need is just someone to talk to, somebody to rant to. So yeah, I think listening to your kid might be one of the best things. And yeah, thank you for your support, our parents, because this will not be possible without you. So yeah.
So my advice to future international students would be to put yourself out there. No one's bringing anything to you. You have to go out and find these resources. You have to go out and find these connections. So networking was another skill that I had to learn, and I had to be very intentional about. So going out to spaces where people will be and introducing yourself and making these connections and making friends. It is a hard thing to do sometimes, but it is necessary and it pays off in the end. So if you don't have these skills, it's fine. These are things you learn in school, but these are things you have to decide to learn. These are skills that you have to consciously teach yourself and put yourself in these spaces to learn and to meet people. And these people will help you on your journey, because no one goes through this journey as an international student alone. It will be lonely, it will be tough, and it might feel very hopeless at times, but you can get through this. A lot of people have. And I'd advise students to learn these skills, and to parents to try as much as they can to encourage their children. Listen to them when they want to rant, when they want to tell you how tough their week has been. You're not just sending them here to study, you're also sending them here to build themselves to become humans and to become more useful to society and themselves. So my advice would be to listen to them and just be there for them to rely on.
I'm grateful to everyone who has supported this project. It is so dear to my heart. And you would ask me, Anu, are you an international student? And the answer is no. I've never been one, but I'm married to one. And I know what it means and what he had seen in his own experience. And to be very sincere with you, I'm grateful that I was able to share the journey of this amazing. Altogether, we had 10 people share their stories, and there are thousands and thousands of them out there. So to you parents, we say thank you for sacrificing a lot to get your children here for a better life. To you, that international student who is watching me, you can do it. You can make it. The sky is just a stepping stone. And to the prospective international student who is worrying about 1,001 things and thinking, am I able to achieve anything? You can see from this 10 students, both current and past, that with God and with your education, with your support from your parents, from your friends, and from your loved ones, you can do anything and achieve everything your heart ever desires. So, as we wrap this up, I want to also say a big thank you to TELUS STORYHIVE. I want to say a big thank you to the University of Alberta School of Business. Thank you for sharing your beautiful location with us. And to the amazing Rema Chapel for giving us a very big studio space to shoot our documentary. We are grateful. Thank you so much. I'm hoping to have this for season 2, so you have to watch out. But before I go, I want to tell you this. If you're an international student, you're not alone. There are so many resources out there for you. If you have any questions or if you need any clarity, whether you're current or you're thinking of making Edmonton home, you can send me a direct message or send me an email and we'll be able to have a chat with you. And for my current international students, know that there is a family and a support system that's here to share the burden with you. So if you're ever stuck, make sure that you reach out to any of these beautiful participants that we have had today, and they've been able to share their journey. And to all the participants, 10 of you were amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. To my amazing 1909 Media production crew who produced this documentary, y'all went above and beyond to make this a success, and I am forever grateful to you. To my family, to my friends, and to everyone that has shared this amazing project with their friends and family, God bless you so much. I am eternally grateful to you. So till I see you on season 2 of Between Two Worlds, my name is still Anu Adedore. Have a wonderful day. Bye.